And it's so weird to like want to move to America right now with everything that's going on. But
Here's another liberal who wants to leave the country. Let's find out why.
When does it end? Bro, I'm so tired.
These are the faces of Americans who believe that they need to flee from America. And this woman is someone who I have respect for because she actually did, whereas everybody else seems committed to nothing else besides talking about the fact that they want to flee the country. So if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Angela, and when I turned 18, I decided not to go to college and to actually travel abroad for a year, and it was my first time ever outside of the country. I didn't speak the language, didn't really know anybody, and it was completely different than what I expected because I figured that everybody in their countries had their own movies, their own music, their own currencies, and that they were going to be similar to me in culture and in style. And it took me a lot of time to figure out what was considered right and wrong and how to be accepted into a new culture. It was very difficult, and I also realized how influential America's media and currency is, and that the taxi driver next to me could be a grown man listening to Katy Perry's Firework. So it was just a massive shock to me. And honestly, it made me incredibly grateful for the United States, especially because there came a point where it almost felt like I was migrating to the United States and I just wanted to be able to come back. And so I am interested in hearing what these people's perspective is about what it's like to live in a different country, because it seems like they are looking for something better and they just maybe don't know yet that there's nothing. There's nothing that is better than the United States. So let's go ahead and hear from them, and every so often I'll chime.
My name is Max. I'm a transgender American, and today I am leaving the United States indefinitely and moving to Valencia, Spain. On my way to Spain, I'm going to be staying with a friend in Vienna, Austria. So I'm going to take tons of videos so that y'all can see what Austria is like, and then I will be going to Valencia. I want to help as many people as possible to get out of the United States. So if you're someone that is feeling like you need to leave the United States for your safety, please message me. I certainly don't have all of the answers, but I am happy to take time to research and see what possible options there are out there. And if you're someone that knows of different options, please message me. The countries that I know the most about in terms of visas are Canada, Mexico, and Spain. But as a social worker, I am very good at resource navigation, and so I plan to use what free time I have trying to help people get out.
It almost sounds like he is asking for job opportunities. He's like, I will be your travel coordinator for you because I'm leaving the country and now I don't know where to work. How are you going to make money anymore? That's kind of the scary thing too. A lot of people think that they can just leave the country and then they'll become a travel blogger and everything's going to work out because of that, because they're doing something different and that everybody's going to be interested in it. And to some extent, that's kind of true. But just so you guys know, if you've ever wanted to become a travel vlogger and go take pictures on yachts and all this stuff, the American audience is going to pay you the best. And when he said indefinitely, that just shows that he's being dramatic. I heard from some YouTube therapist one time that was like, when you're writing or you're speaking and you hear yourself say, I will never do this, or you always do that, it is likely that you are being dramatic, okay? And what other country in the world would it be better to be a transgender in? I don't know if Spain is one of them. Very traditional, very Catholic, and eventually Spain is going to take the trans out of him. So that'll be a good thing. But of course, all around the world, they try to be progressive and attract people by being like, oh, we're so LGBTQ friendly. But in reality, it's not a part of the culture in majority of places around the world. Mostly it is only accepted in the United States and in big cities in Europe. But besides that, in the rest of the world, it's looked down upon because it's just detrimental to a society. So I hope that guy did travel outside of the country and maybe he'll come back accepting the fact that he's a man.
Is it just me, or is it disturbing to anybody else that people aren't even insulted when you call them racist anymore?
That's it. That's her whole video, was just the caption that she hates it here in America. Oh, it's just so difficult. I wonder if she's ever heard the story of the boy who cried wolf, because that is exactly what has happened in our country. People have been called all these ridiculous names for so long that it doesn't impact them anymore. If you call a skinny person fat over and over again, maybe the first time they'd be like, wait, why did they think I'm fat? But then after some time, it's like, hey, that's pretty ridiculous. This person is just projecting their own insecurities on me, or they're just trying to be mean and try to put me down. And the only opinion that matters is the one that we have of ourselves. And so just because you have called people racist for such a long time and it doesn't get to them anymore, maybe you should look inwards. Honestly, I think the biggest issue in our country is people just continue to protest everything instead of focusing on important issues. We have been debating the most ridiculous stuff. Meanwhile, China is going to beat us to the moon and could potentially become a world power because of it. And we're falling behind. And yet people are focused on ridiculous things like, oh, transgenders, they're real women, and oh, racism and underprivileged people. The only protest that should be happening is in front of the mirror in the morning. We should be demanding more from ourselves. We should be studying things. We have fallen so far behind. And so if that's the only reason why you should be upset, but that is something that we can change. We have the power to change that. We can study more, we can get stronger, we can get smarter, we can get wiser, and you don't have to change countries in order to do those things. Personal development is something that happens within your head, right? Okay, so this woman says 30 days till takeoff, leaving USA forever. Oh, forever. But I bet if you asked her, okay, now we are going to strip you of your citizenship and then you can go wherever you want, probably she wouldn't take that. But I'm just assuming. Let's hear from her.
30 days until I leave the United States for good. Hi, my name's Ember, and on today's update, I just wanted to share, I guess a common question people have been asking is how do you do this? What's the number one thing that you need to do to leave the country? The number one thing you need is courage. You need a pair in order to leave everything, leave everyone, leave all your comfort behind. Now, I've gone traveling for months before in my life, and I've lived out of a backpack before in my life, and it's not a pleasant lifestyle at times. Traveling, you have to be willing to go through a lot of uncomfortable situations. You have to have a lot of people just fucking dragging you down too. Side note, I won against my bullies. I silenced them and they were crying to mommy. So
What?
Just stick up for yourself. Have courage, be brave, be bold, and just put one foot in front of the other. You don't have to have anything else figured out. Put one foot in front of the other and you will get there.
I mean, I kind of completely disagree with this because she just tells you how bad it's going to be backpacking through wherever the heck. And so it doesn't take courage. In fact, it takes a lot of ignorance to be like, okay, I'm leaving the United States. And the other reason why I disagree with courage being the thing that's needed to make these liberals actually decide to take the step to flee the United States. It's wrong because all you really need to do is go to the post office, take a 2x2 photo and get your passport, go to Google Flights and buy the ticket. Buy the ticket. That's what you need to do. You don't need to sit there and be like, oh, am I courageous? Can I live out of my backpack? Do I need my things? And what about this person? What do they think of me for that? I mean, no, the first step, just buy the ticket. Okay. And a lot of people don't do it, but she has done it. And honestly, if she likes it and she enjoys the adventure of never knowing where she's going to go, am I going to get kidnapped today? That's the life she wants to live. That's totally okay. But when we're talking about standard of living and the ability to be whoever you want and accomplish massive goals, the United States is outright the best place to do it in the world. Is it the best place to go sky or bungee jumping and not be 100% sure if the bungee is going to be strong, if the cord's going to work? Then yeah, probably the US is not the best option for it. The US is number one in opportunity, and my golly, we plan to keep it that way. Here's another liberal who wants to leave the country. Let's find out why.
When does it end? Bro, I'm so
I believe that this is what Jordan Peterson would refer to as a negative feedback loop. She's screaming, and her screams make herself feel angrier, intenser, and that just encourages her to, I don't know, self-destruct even more. And all of this reminds me of a very important point I wanted to bring up when I was thinking about this video, and that is that think about what the Chinese virus has done to so many Americans, that this woman is unable to even take a breath. And because of COVID, people have been afraid to leave their front door. It's, I get groceries delivered to my house, I work from home, I don't want to go anywhere, I'm scared to go to the park, I'm scared to go to the store. That's also a negative feedback loop. To some point, we're just stuck at our houses, and it's like, okay, we're afraid. And so at some point, I do think that this desire to get out, see what is out there, is a good thing. And we could also start by just traveling throughout the United States. We saw during this government shutdown how many TSA workers were not getting paid. And so there was long travel lines, a lot of flights were getting canceled. And so many people began to go on road trips. We have the most beautiful national parks that deserve to be visited as well. And so if you're somebody who has thought about leaving the country before, but you're afraid and you don't know where to start, maybe just go to the park that is down the street and take little tiny steps like this. Because the truth is that people are afraid of a whole lot of nothing. And one time a liberal laughed at me because I said that fear is false evidence appearing real. And I truly do believe that. I also believe that at some point we will be able to go to space and to be able to see the entire world from far away. But to get the courage to do that, we are going to need to be able to take a deep breath. And if you want to go somewhere, go. But you don't need to sit here and scream and cry about it.
I renewed my passport yesterday because I'm getting the fuck out of America. Yep, I'm getting a one-way plane ticket to go somewhere. Europe, most likely.
Great. Have a wonderful time in Pakistan. Imagine like having no idea, or if you've never been on X or something and you're just like, I'm going to go to Europe, but I'm going to do so in a way that's very economic. And so I'm going to take a cheap flight there and I'm going to get a cheap Ibis hotel. And then all of a sudden you're just in the middle of Pakistan and you're like, wait a second. I know that the flight said London when I got on. People just don't realize how good they have it. And so I encourage these people to flee the United States, and we're almost getting to the woman who actually did and now wants to come back. Let's hear from this guy. How on earth did he get an upside down emoji flag? He probably did it on Instagram and actually took the time to turn it upside down. Super pathetic.
Well, here we are. It's Friday, and we are just literally minutes away from the border to Canada as we flee the U.S. Who would have thought at age 60 that this would be our day and our plan and our actions? And I know fleeing sounds dramatic and like something from a movie, but it's really true. We just feel so...
That would be the most boring movie of... I could not sit through that. Even if the movie lasted 1 minute and it was just an Instagram reel or one of those Chinese short films that they have on the vertical things, I would not care for that movie. The entire movie is just the whole country is so happy that we got an awesome president, but we got a businessman who is an outsider who truly, the only reason why he's there is because he cares about you. He doesn't have, and me, he doesn't have to be doing this job for any reason. He could just be sitting on a beach somewhere for the rest of his life, but he truly does care, I'm sure, about his grandkids and the future of our country. And then this guy is like, oh, I'm so angry that everyone's happy, and so I got in a car and I drove to Canada. What a lame movie. Where's the climax of that? The movie should be about Trump, not about you, buddy.
So scrutinized and so silenced and so being portrayed as enemies within and being portrayed as domestic terrorists because we're standing up for what we believe in this country and what we believe is being violated and is going into an authoritarian regime, and is in it actually, and has been since he hit the ground running in January, the day he was inaugurated.
It's okay. Before you go to bed, I will look under the bed and I will make sure that there's no monsters there. I will check in the closet as well. This guy's running from the boogeyman. He is afraid of nothing. Are you guys like afraid of this authoritarian regime? And no. I mean, they make up stories. We could all make up things that we could be afraid of. Driving in a car is incredibly dangerous. It's actually more threatening to him in my life than Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a person who lives on the other side of the country. I mean, what does that really have to do with your day-to-day life? You're the one who got in the car and decided to drive to Canada. I mean, at some point, I just feel like it's a lack of accountability. That's why I appreciate this woman, because she probably had similar thoughts and she's like, I need to get out of this country. She did, and now this is what she has to say.
If you're an American who is considering leaving the country to move somewhere else, make sure that the location you choose isn't based off of fear and lack mentality. I regret moving to Costa Rica. It's a beautiful country. I love the nature and wildlife, but moving to a third world country where I don't know the language, I don't have any connections, resources, or opportunities, that didn't make my life any easier.
It's horrible. It is horrible to some extent, okay? Because, you guys, I'm sure many of you guys have also had an experience where you've gone and lived in maybe Latin America, and at first you get this idea of beaches and a server coming up to you with margaritas, and it's like, yeah, that's if you go to an all-inclusive resort. But even if you take your American dollars and you go and live in a third world country, you're still going to be in a third world country. Even if you're the richest there, it's still going to have the same traffic, the same issues, the same lines. You're going to be dealing with the same government. It's inescapable.
By any means. I was just so scared of what's going on in America politically that I was in fight or flight. I was like, how am I gonna afford to survive? Like, how am I gonna find a place to live? Like, I was freaking out. And then I came here and made my life so much harder. And now I'm trying to go back, and I just like wish I didn't leave in the first place. And it's so weird to like want to move to America right now with everything that's going on, but I just left so many privileges and resources behind and I want them back. It sucks. But I kind of grew up in an interesting way. I was like the poorest person in the wealthiest rooms throughout most of my childhood. I was extremely wealthy till I was like age 6. I had this beautiful waterfront mansion with a private beach and pool, and then my parents got divorced and I ended up with a parent who didn't have money, so we were living out of like trailers and hotels and lower income housing, but I was still in these really wealthy situations. Like, I was in private school and cotillions and dance lessons, and I always thought that I was so poor because I was the poorest person that I knew, and all of my friends had like millionaire and billionaire parents. Now that I've traveled, I've seen like real poverty, and I'm like, oh, I wasn't poor. But as a kid, I had these really luxurious vacations through my friends and family members, where like my first introduction to Costa Rica, it was like when I was 17 years old. I came with my friend's family and we stayed at exclusive resorts. We were having lunch at the Four Seasons, and like same with my Hawaii experiences. My family friends took me and we stayed at the Grand Wailea and the Hyatt, all these really fancy luxury resorts, and we would explore the areas too. But you know, living in Nana Valley or Pahoa is very different than taking a vacation at the Grand Wailea or Four Seasons. So, you know, my travels and moves, I've really realized how privileged I've been, and there's a lot of things that like made me run away from LA and Orange County, some traumatic experiences and terrible people. But I left a lot of resources and great people behind, and I need to be in those environments again. I really miss luxury environments.
Honestly, her sincerity is incredibly refreshing. And another thing that I wanted to bring up in this video is that Americans just don't realize how incredibly wealthy we are. I really also enjoyed how in her clip, she brought up the differences in classes. A term that they used when I was living in a Latin American country is they called it a bubble. And they said they hang around the same people, people, they do the same kinds of things, they have a similar dress. And outside of that, it's just the rest of the country, which is the majority of the country. And so they have different ways of thinking and different styles of living. However, in a third world country, that's going to be a whole lot closer to each other. And something that I've realized is that the way that the people in the bubble live, or in the exclusive high earners of third world countries live, it's very comparable to the way that all Americans live. Living outside of the country just makes you realize how good we have it in the United States. It makes you realize that the United States is that bubble. We're really fortunate to be in this country. Another reason why I believe it is so incredibly awesome when Americans have an experience like this and then they're like, I want to go back to the US. I miss it. I was so privileged there. I am so fortunate there, is that they begin to have a similar mentality to legal immigrants, or people who come to the United States in the right way, because they see the United States of the land of opportunity. And yet a lot of times Americans who were raised in the US and don't know anything different, they're just like, oh, it's Walmart, it's just a store, it's just a job, it's just a resume or whatever. But to people on the outside looking in, they're like, wow, what a deal. I can work at King Soopers and make $24 an hour, where in my country, I was making $3 an hour. What an opportunity. They're going to show up to work differently. They're going to do everything, and they're going to get ahead really quickly. I heard that in the past, I don't know if it's still relevant today, but that legal immigrants are more likely to become millionaires or something like that. And it's because the way that they view the opportunity and look for opportunity. And so, I mean, the truth is, though, you don't need to leave the country to realize this opportunity. You just have to be grateful for it. And I love the fact that she was a liberal who was freaking out about the Trump administration, being like, I need to escape. But now she recognizes the opportunity. And honestly, the Trump administration has created more opportunity for average, ordinary citizens than any other presidential administration throughout history. I've never read in any history book or learned about a time that is similar to what is happening in our country right now. And we can consider what are some ways that we can get involved. And right now in America, the American dream is possible. And so I do feel bad for the people who have left or are planning on leaving, because I would not want to be anywhere else. Please make sure that you guys are subscribed and join me on the Patreon for Q&As every single week. We go live, and I will see you over there. Bye.